If you're interested in mastering your emotions, welcome back to my series answering the 10 most frequently asked questions about healthy emotions. Today, we're going to dive into question number 5. How do I separate my emotions from my identity? If you've ever felt defined by anxiety, sadness, or anger, or overwhelm, this episode is for you. As always, if you're wanting to keep up with this series, I'd really appreciate it if you liked this video and subscribed. That way, you'll get notified whenever new videos are uploaded, helping you build awareness, resilience, and a deeper understanding of your emotions with each episode. This is a question that deeply shaped my own life. There was a time that I believed my emotions were who I was. When feeling anxious meant I was anxious, and feeling overwhelmed meant something was wrong with me. And through my own healing journey, I learned that emotional suffering isn't caused by emotions themselves, but by identifying with them. So, what I'm sharing with you here isn't theory, it's what transformed my relationship with my emotions and helps me reclaim a stable sense of self. When emotions become identity, every emotion feels permanent and personal. A bad moment turns into a bad day turns into a bad life story. But when you learn to separate who you are from what you feel, emotions lose their power to control your decisions, your confidence, and your future. This one skill can radically improve your emotional health, relationships, and self-trust. So, how do I separate my emotions from my identity? The first thing to understand is that emotions are experiences, not definitions. They are internal signals that give you information about what's happening inside you, but they are not a statement of who you are as a person. When you confuse emotions with identity, every emotion you experience feels permanent, overwhelming, and personal. But learning to separate the two creates emotional freedom and stability. One of the most powerful tools for this separation is awareness. And the moment that you can notice an emotion instead of automatically merging with it, you create space. And instead of I am anxious, you begin to say, I am noticing anxiety right now. And this subtle shift turns you into the observer rather than the emotion itself. You become the one having the emotion, not the emotion running your life. Another key step is understanding that emotions are not facts. They feel real, but they are not always accurate reflections of reality. An emotion might be responding to a memory, a fear, or a past experience rather than what is actually happening in the present moment. When you stop treating emotions as an absolute truth, you stop letting them define your worth, your character, or your future. Real separation happens through safety, awareness, and repetition. When your nervous system learns that emotions can rise and fall without danger, your identity no longer needs to cling to them for protection. Separating emotions from identity happens in the middle, where emotions are allowed, named, and processed without becoming the story of who you are. Separating emotions from identity also means allowing emotions without judging yourself for having them. Many people think that having emotions means something is wrong with them. But in reality, emotions are part of being human. When you allow emotions to exist without attaching a story about who you are because of them, they naturally move through you faster and with less intensity. Separating emotions from identity requires practicing self-compassion. So when an emotion arises, speak to yourself the way that you would to someone you care about. So you wouldn't tell a friend, this feeling defines you forever. So there's no reason to tell yourself that either. Compassion reminds you that emotions are part of the human experience, not a personal failure. It's also important to remember that emotions change, but identity is stable. You are the same person whether you feel confident or insecure, calm or frustrated. And when you anchor your identity to your values, actions, and choices, rather than your emotional state, you stop riding emotional highs and lows as if they define you. Another helpful perspective is to see emotions as energy in motion. They move, shift, rise, and fall when they're not trapped by stories about identity. And when you stop saying, "This is who I am," and start saying, "This is what I'm experiencing," emotions naturally complete their cycle. This prevents emotional buildup and long-term emotional overwhelm. A practical daily habit that helps is doing a check-in. Pause and ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Followed by, what does this emotion need? This keeps the emotion in its proper role as a messenger, not a ruler. As you continue practicing this skill, you may notice moments where emotions arise and pass without leaving a lasting impact. And those moments matter. They are signs that your identity is no longer wrapped around your emotional state. At the core, the real issue isn't emotional intensity, it's emotional identification. When you stop asking, "What does this emotion say about me?" and instead ask, "What is this emotion trying to communicate?" everything shifts. Emotions become information, not identity. Separating emotions from identity doesn't mean suppressing or ignoring how you feel. It means respecting emotions without letting them become your self-definition. When you master this skill, emotions stop controlling your life and start supporting your growth, clarity, and emotional health. It can also be helpful to examine the mental stories that tie emotions to identity. So when we say, "I am anxious" or "I am angry," we are creating a narrative that merges the emotion with the self. So instead, try reframing these thoughts as, "I am noticing anxiety," or "I'm experiencing anger right now." This subtle shift reminds you that the emotion is temporary and separate from who you truly are. A practice of mindful observation strengthens this separation. So when an emotion arises, pause and watch it without judgment. Notice its intensity, duration, and physical sensations, but don't label yourself as the emotion. Over time, this trains your mind to witness emotions as passing experiences rather than permanent identity traits. Paying attention to how emotions show up in your body is another way to maintain separation. So, for example, tight shoulders, a racing heart, or a shallow breath can signal an emotion, but they do not define you. So, by observing these physical cues without self criticism, you can reinforce the understanding that emotions are signals, not self definitions. Curiosity can replace resistance in separating emotions from identity. So when an emotion arises, ask yourself, what is the emotion trying to communicate? Rather than, what does this say about me? This approach transforms emotions into information instead of labels, giving you choice and control and preventing them from defining who you are. It's also helpful to practice naming emotions in detail. So instead of labeling an emotion simply as bad or anxious, try identifying it more specifically. So, for example, "I am noticing frustration mixed with worry." This practice creates clarity and reminds you that emotions are experiences, not permanent labels. And the more precise you become in noticing emotions, the less likely you are to fuse them with your identity. Separating emotions from your identity doesn't mean pushing your emotions away or pretending that they don't exist. It means noticing what you feel, understanding it, and letting it pass without thinking it defines who you are. To support you in building emotional awareness, I have a free resource called the Emotional Breakthrough Guide, and I'd love to share it with you today. The Emotional Breakthrough Guide takes a very different approach. It helps you cultivate emotional awareness by identifying, reflecting on, and managing your emotions effectively. This guide also provides practical exercises that you can incorporate into your daily life, helping you respond to emotional triggers with calm, clarity, and confidence. It's designed to move you from feeling overwhelmed by your emotions to feeling grounded and in control and emotionally empowered. Inside the Emotional Breakthrough Guide, you'll find step-by-step exercises that help you notice your personal triggers, reflect on emotional patterns behind them, and begin responding in healthier ways. The exercises are designed to fit into your everyday life so you can start building emotional awareness and control immediately. You can get your free Emotional Breakthrough Guide right now. Just click the link in the description below and sign up. Once you do, you'll receive instant access to the guides so that you can begin using it right away. You can move through it at your own pace, applying what you learn to real life situations and noticing small but meaningful changes in how you respond emotionally. If this video helped you, I'd really appreciate it if you liked the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. That way, you'll be notified of the next video in this 23-part series on healthy emotions, where we continue building the awareness and skills you need for long-term emotional health. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.